Hopefully this will work tonight.
I'm trying to be quiet.
Thank you.
I think so. Did you hear her yark?
I don't know. You might go check. I'm live now, kiddo. As I have a coughing fit. Hi, everybody. Okie doke. I hope everybody can hear me. Go ahead and give a shout out if you can hear and see me okay. And I hope everything is going to cooperate tonight with our technology. So can you hear me? Can you see me? Okay, cool. Thanks, Mina. Okay, thanks, Terry. So hi, Patricia. Hi, Terry. Hi, Mina. Hi, Shirley. Glad everybody can make it. Hi, Steve. Awesome. Hello, Angela. Glad you guys can be here tonight. Cool, cool. All right, well, we'll just go ahead and dive in then and see what we can do tonight. So, let's see here. I'll get this switched over. There we go. Cool. All right, so let's just kind of dive in here and see where we were. I did kind of finish up a little bit of this background. So you can see this, this could definitely use some more smoothing and blending, but you get the idea of how we're trying to create kind of a gradient modeled but smooth background in there. And so I can go ahead and add some more variations of tone in this little light pocket. I was actually just trying to finish this up about 10 minutes ago. It's been a really busy week. So anyway, let's go ahead and I'm just gonna kind of probably work in the flower area wherever I can with my hand positioning, and let's see what we can do. Hi, Beverly. Okay, I'm gonna try and switch over under the camera a little bit better, and let's zoom in just a tad. Okay, so yes, hi TH, happy Friday. My microphone is crazy, I can pick up everything. So glad you guys can be here. Awesome. Okay, so right now my burner is on max heat. And let's just kind of see what we can do. I'm still kind of avoiding that little yucky spot. But we're going to focus a little bit on some of these negative shapes in here and see if we can't finish up the leaves and the flowers and the whole thing. That's the plan. You're very welcome, TH. I'm glad that that showed up okay. Very lovely. Where am I? I'm having a hard time finding where I'm supposed to be here, which is pretty understandable since there's so much going on here. And I don't have all the reference photo in the picture here. If that bothers you, let me know, and I'll try to zoom out and make it a little bit more visible. So we just have all these little negative space, little tidbits in here that we need to kind of finish up before we add the background. Hi, Barbara. So I went to town today and the elephant got packaged up, and the elephant Woodburning is on its way to Texas to its new forever home, which is just lovely. So I think that's the first live stream piece that I've sold, which is pretty cool. Hi, Rich. Glad you had fun at pickleball. I've heard a lot about that. So does anybody have any questions as far as where we are right now and what we're trying to accomplish? Yes, Terry, I'm very happy that the elephant found its new home. It always helps the financial end of things as well. So, very, very great. And I did not clear coat that piece, so I'm kind of just leaving my wood burnings more unfinished for now. Thank you, Beverly. Yes, I did get some pictures of the elephant for prints, and I'm trying to get the prints set up for that. It's a little bit of a tedious process to do that. Maybe I just make it more complicated than it needs to be, but I will be offering prints of the elephant just as soon as they're done. Hi, Laura. So if anybody's tried to, I know some people have sent some messages my way this past week, and I have not responded to a lot of people because I am racing to get ready for the snow. We have snow that's supposed to come in, I think tomorrow night. So anyway, snow, cold, our beautiful fall weather is pretty much coming to an end right now. And I've been moving a ton, literally tons of firewood into our little woodshed. So between that and homeschooling and everything else, I haven't had much time for really anything. I've just been running every day trying to get ready. Because at this time of year, we could get snow and then not see the ground again for 6 months. So I got to make sure everything's picked up out in the yard so we don't lose stuff for the next half year. Thanks, Mina. Yeah, I'm glad that everybody enjoyed the elephant. Rich is, let's see, I think I'm out of order on the, Shirley is saying, curious about how the elephant customer first saw the piece, if you would care to discuss it. I think the customer that bought the elephant wood burning is a friend or acquaintance on Facebook. So I posted the elephant on Facebook, on my personal page, and then in a few groups, and on my business page. So I would say the majority of my original sales come from Facebook, just because I just post it out on social media. I'm not as good with Instagram. I'm not as good with Instagram. I usually forget to do that, but I usually just throw it out on social media. And usually if you make a post on social media, Facebook especially, and you say that, hey, this one's for sale or something, they usually dial back your reach and you don't get as many people to see your post. So a lot of times people will just come to me and say, hey, is it still available? Because they know that I sell my work. So anyway, I hope that answers your question, Shirley. Just a friend, acquaintance on Facebook. Rich is asking, would I ever wood burn an elephant again? Absolutely. That was a really fun project. It was difficult, but it was even more difficult to do it in front of everybody. But I would totally do another, create another wood burning of an elephant, because that was really a great challenge. I actually have a series in mind for an elephant project that I've wanted to do for years. So maybe now that I'm a little more comfortable with the textures, I might try to do that series. Thanks, Mina. I'm glad that I sold the elephant as well. TH, yay for snow, absolutely. Beverly, you liked the elephant too, that's awesome. You're getting ready for winter too. Oh, you've got, yeah, friends in Wyoming and Idaho. Yep. The first snowfall is always magical, Patricia. I think it's one of the most exciting times of the year. We hoot and holler and really just love seeing the first snow of the year. It's just very magical. And then after 6 months, it's like, no more. You gotta stop. Turn it off. But we love snow all the time because we know that it keeps the forest fires down in the summertime. And the more snow, the better, as far as I'm concerned. Of course, I work from home and I don't have to drive in it very often, which is helpful. Although I do have to run a tractor and clear out the road and make sure that we can get in and out of our home. But that's fun too. I really like snow. So I'm just kind of massaging some of these areas here, trying to get a little bit more filled in. Some of these really light stem pieces that are, we know that they're very light, but they're also in shadow. So you need to tone them down just a little bit with a little bit of shading and to kind of knock them down so they're not quite so in your face. It'll also look like a little bit more realistic if you shade some of the white light stems that are in the shadows. So I'm going to do that over here as well and just knock down that brightness a little bit, and it'll push those values back away from you, and it'll look a little bit more natural. So because this image is backlit, there's so much going on, there's so many light, really light values, that it's important to add some lighter midtones in places so it's not so stark of a contrast. Because when you have just like dark values and like your darks and then your lights but no mid-range in between, your image can look really flat. So by adding some more mid-range values, it helps to create more depth. So I hope that makes sense. Oh dear. Oh, hold on, I have a problem. Sorry guys. Bear with me. My camera, I usually record and I forgot to push record, and then my camera goes to sleep, so my apologies. Come on, wake up. And then I will push record and it won't do that again. I haven't done this since like my first live stream. Okay. Ta-da! Okay, let there be video. Here we go. Sorry about that. Hi, Laura. Thank you very much. Beverly is asking, have you thought about doing a calendar with your prints? It's been a couple years since I've done that. I probably have enough work, though, for a new calendar. So I'll have to do things differently this time. Last time I asked around and asked who would be interested in calendars, and then bought calendars based on people that said that they wanted them without taking pre-orders first. So I still have calendars from a couple years ago that nobody like came to pick up or anything. So I will probably, if I do calendars again, I will have to do pre-orders only. So you'll have to like prepay for them so that I can pay for them from the printer. But if that sounds interesting, if you guys want more like another calendar, I can certainly do that. But I will definitely take pre-orders this time instead of just taking an account of hands raised. So live and learn, you know. So all this in here is pretty hodgepodgey. And I might take some artistic license and add shading in places where I don't see it on the reference photo, just so it doesn't look so crazy. Okay. Cool. Okay, I will work towards getting a calendar together then. That doesn't take too much work. I can do that. So, thanks everybody. I appreciate that. I can't believe how far into the year we are, how far we are like into the fall season. This here in Colorado, the weather has been just so mild and perfect for so long. I forget that it's the end of October and that the holidays are right around the corner. And so I'm in a little bit of a panic, realizing that as a business owner, I have a lot to do to get ready for the holiday sales and all that. So I will add the calendar onto my list of things to do. Hi, Monte. Monte Harris, is it? I know some have first name, first, second name. Okay, anyway, hi Monte, I'm gonna call you Monte. So glad that you've been watching the videos, and you're very welcome for the lessons, and so glad that you can make it here and join us. That's just lovely. Always great to see new faces, or new names, you know what I mean. So, very, very cool. So we're just finishing up a little bit of detail and shading in some of these crazy plants. So you can see this little woohoo right here. I'm gonna shade that and knock that down and push that back a little bit because it's a little bit too bright. And so is this one. And that one. And this one. So Barbara says, I'm trying to finish up pet commissions and have demos and classes coming up too. So I totally understand the end of year crunch with the holidays. Wishing you the best. Thank you, Barbara. Yeah, this is always just the craziest time of year for me. It seems like every year we get behind on schoolwork and it all has to get done over the holidays. And then you've got, you know, I do cooking and we have family over and make a big meal, and then the shopping and the, you know, when you have kids, you got your Christmas stuff. And anyway, it's crazy, crazy, crazy time of year. And I have an art fair, no, a craft fair in about a month, a little bit less than a month, that I am totally not ready for. So that's going to be fun too. Okay, so I'm just kind of redarkening some of these values in that leaf, so I can push the lighter values darker. Sometimes you'll notice that you have to make minor adjustments to your shading because it's not dark enough. And in order to darken your lighter values, sometimes you need to go back and redarken your darker values in order to keep their relationship the same, but darken everything. So I hope that makes sense. Beverly, we are glad for the lessons of what not to do also. Yes, I have, yeah, I've got lots of, hopefully stories and lessons that can help you guys out as far as what not to do. Like if you do a calendar, make sure you do pre-orders. So you're not stuck with a calendar or any time sensitive thing years later. So that's one thing that I would be very careful of when you create ornaments. Like if you do ornaments, don't put the date on it like, yay, you know, this is Christmas 2022. I would hold off until you know it's going to a customer, because once you date it and that time passes, you will never be able to sell that again because it's outdated. So make sure that any time sensitive stuff that you're kind of careful with that. I hope that makes sense. So my husband is running power tools in the backyard, so if you hear something weird, it's not me, it's not Mona the trash can. It's my husband using power tools in the backyard. Okay, so this area it looks kind of crazy, but it's coming together. I think we need to do a little bit more shading on that little section just to kind of knock down some of this brightness. And I'm really going to try to, this is where that art, I'm really going to try to finish this up tonight, but in this area, this is where the artistic license is really going to come into play, and I'm going to try to push some values darker. Anytime I have something overlap, I'm going to try to shade a little bit more at the bottom to kind of create more of an illusion of depth. Because this reference photo is beautiful, and all this crazy mumbo jumbo stuff here looks good because you've got color, but because we are working just with value right now, then we have to kind of push our values a little bit to make things differentiate from each other instead of just look like a hodgepodge of confusion. But this is a tricky subject with all the negative spaced areas. You're very welcome, Barbara. Yep, Mona. Mona is totally part of the crew. No one's in the kitchen, so Mona is quiet. And for those of you just joining us, Mona is my trash can that like makes a moaning / farting sound whenever you open it or close it. I guess when it closes, it makes a funny sound. Okay, so as we have a big stem right here that comes down and it ducks behind this leaf, we need to shade that in order to push it back. So it looks like it's going behind, which means I may have to darken up some of these darker sections too, but that's okay. Rich, yeah, the wood blemish is starting to really blend in. It's a little bit wonky because this leaf is going through there, but maybe with some paint or something it won't be as crazy. So sometimes you have to kind of take a step back and see what needs adjusted. I think this leaf right here is still a little bit too bright. The veins on it are really bright. Even though the reference photo shows that it's still really light, those veins are light, I'm probably going to knock those down a little bit. Knock them down and just, I'm going to shade a little bit more on them and kind of push it back. So when I say knock it down, it just means make it to where it's not quite so noticeable. So I think that's a little bit better. So Monte says, I'm trying to burn an owl right now, but I kept trying to transfer with acetone. Oh dear. Finally gave up and went with carbon paper. There aren't any lines though. The pattern is kind of minimal line shading. Okay. And no, you're not off topic at all. I'm just kind of chatting while burning. So any questions that pop up in the chat definitely take priority over my ranting. Yeah, I would not try to transfer anything with acetone just from a safety standpoint. I know the acetone is very, very strong and powerful, and I don't know how to transfer on with acetone, but I have a feeling that you're probably exposing yourself to some sort of a chemical hazardous risk, because after you burn over the acetone, it's going to create some sort of fumes. So I would strongly be wary or do more research, and I'm assuming you probably have with acetone. Anyway, big red flag there as far as acetone transfer. Even carbon paper can have a little bit of wax involved where you burn over that and you can cause some fumes as well. You might try graphite paper instead, because Graphite paper is great because you can kind of adjust how dark your lines are based on your pressure. So if you have your graphite paper here, there's a dark side and a shiny side. So you want the dark side down, and then if I have a pen, yeah, I don't even need a pen. So I usually use a pen, but anything will work. So if you do just kind of a light pressure line, and then you can do a darker pressure line, you will see that come through on your wood. So graphite paper is a great way to go, and you can reuse this stuff a lot. You can kind of see some of my old patterns in there, but you can reuse graphite paper a whole lot. And then to make these lines to where they're not quite so noticeable, you can always take some sanding paper and sand them down if your lines are too visible. So, little impromptu lesson or tip on transfers, but definitely go with graphite paper. I hope that helps, Monte, and thank you very much. Oh, graphite paper. Okay, cool. You ordered from my link. Okay, cool. Nice. Awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you. So, but you didn't get any lines though. Minimal line shading. Okay. Okay. And there are different types and manufacturers of graphite paper. I've tried a few, but I prefer Walnut Hollow's graphite paper. They did make a change a couple years ago, and I wasn't too crazy about the change, but I think they went back to the original because it's better. So their graphite paper is usually the one that I go for. And I used to say carbon paper too. It's easy to say that instead of graphite paper, until I got somebody told me that there is a difference between carbon paper and graphite paper, and that one is better than the other for health reasons. So any other questions as we continue on here? So some of these veins are still pretty thick, so you can always shave them down and make them thinner. And then we're gonna kind of make them a bit blurred. Now, here in this juncture, we've got this leaf here that is behind this one. So by shading it a little bit more than it is shown in the picture, like that, I can push it back, and then our focus is more on the one in front. Okay, so Monte, you're saying the pattern is kind of complicated. Awesome. I totally understand what you mean now. And that's kind of what I thought you meant as far as minimal lines. Like if you've seen some of my patterns that I make, I'm on Patreon. And so whenever we do a project, I offer the pattern for the patrons on Patreon. And it starts at like $5 a month and then goes up from there. And so if you join on Patreon, then you can get the patterns, the hand-drawn patterns for each project that we do a live stream for. And I'm the same way. I have very complicated lines when it comes to what I transfer on. I don't do a lot of simple straight lines, and owls are definitely a tricky subject. I love wood. It's kind of a love-hate relationship for me with owls and birds. I love the way that they turn out, but they are so complicated. And all the little feathers and the shading gets really complicated. And every time I finish an owl wood burning or a bird, I'm saying I'm not going to do this again for a while. And then I see a beautiful composition of a bird or an owl with gorgeous eyes, and then I wind up doing another wood burning of an owl. So, but they are very, very complicated. Rich, is there white colored graphite paper? I've seen it at Hobby Lobby. yes. I'm not sure if it's quite graphite paper. I think it might be more carbon paper based, but I have used that in painting. I don't use it for wood burning because it really wouldn't show up on basswood. But there is different colored transfer paper, whether it's white, black, red, green, blue. They have many different colors, but I have a feeling some of those might have a waxy coating. So for wood burning, I would stick with what's safe and probably just do the graphite paper that's like a charcoal black. Barbara, I have a question regarding fans. I do have an issue with smoke and fumes, but I will be demonstrating inside the gallery. Any feedback on fans? I do believe that Razor Tip has a fan that pulls smoke away from the user. So you might look into Razor Tip and see what kind of a fan that they have. Because I know that they have one that's specifically designed to sit like on your tabletop or something and pull the fumes away from you. Laura is asking, does anyone work on more than one project at a time? I know that I just finished the eagle and flag and it was a big one. Cool. Yeah, I have at any given time probably 20 to 50 different projects going on. And I kind of float around through those based on my attention level, my time, and just what I feel in the mood for. I usually will sand, maybe a dozen or 20 pieces of wood at a time of various sizes, and then set those off to the side. And then I will go through and get reference photos and get everything laid out and planned out and printed. I don't usually transfer them on in case I change my mind, but I have kind of an assembly line mentality because sanding takes so much time. When you get all your supplies out, it's much more worth it to sand 12 pieces than it is one at a time. So I kind of do a lot of bulk stuff like that. So yes, I have a ton of projects going all the time. Yes, Barbara, owls are fun. You're welcome, Rich. Monte, it's your 4th burn, so you're jumping in over your head. I love it. I think that that is absolutely fantastic because that's the best way to learn. I can't tell you how often, as a beginner, I would choose a project that was way over my head, and I didn't know that I could do it. And a lot of times that's the challenge in itself, is just to see if you can do it. And even if it doesn't turn out the way that you had hoped, you've probably learned a lot in the process. So I think that that's fantastic, and I always encourage people to take on those difficult projects and to challenge yourself, because that's one of the best ways to learn. And that's what I did, and that's how I pushed myself a lot to constantly try a new project or something that I hadn't done before. So that's very, very cool. So Barbara, you got white graphite from Hobby Lobby and it is wax free. Okay, that's good to know. Very cool. Yeah, I've used it with my paintings, but I haven't used it on wood burning. Okay. Yeah, let me know, Barbara, on how that fan goes from Razor Tip. Monte says a computer fan might be good for smoke if it's bothering you. I know those are pretty good too. That's a good idea. So, taking a step back, just kind of looking at everything. Let me switch over to kind of the background stuff for a little bit, and let's see if we can't block in our main subject, because I'm just kind of muddling through the details here, and sometimes it's good to take a break from all the monotonous details. So I know that we had kind of a split as far as people that wanted to me to just finish the background, which I kind of did over here. and then to show how to do that over here. So I'm going to go ahead and start working on the background just for a little bit. We'll kind of switch things up. I love all the questions. It keeps my mind going, and it's just great. Cool, Barbara. Yeah. Ventilation is very important, especially depending on the types of wood that you burn on. Let me zoom in a tad. Okay. So as far as this background goes, we outlined it lightly first, and then instead of a solid black background, which I really like, we're going to do a gradient and kind of change things up a bit. So after that thin outline, I'm going to go back over and do more of a darker outline, but I want to make sure that I don't indent or press really hard. I still want to keep my pressure quite light and just float the burner on top of the wood. Now, anywhere there's really light subject matter, I want my background to be more dramatic and a little bit darker. So again, I'm still full power, full heat. And I'm just going to kind of work in these little areas that suit my hand position, and then we'll turn the wood and keep after it. Hope you guys can see this is kind of a weird angle. Okay. Laura says, I know with every project I do, I learn more. Absolutely. I totally agree. I think that it's kind of a weird angle, but I think we'll just keep at it. Shirley says, soldering fans do a great job. There is a charcoal filter that absorbs the fumes so they don't go back into the room. That's pretty cool. Laura, you use a soldering fan? Okay, cool. You need to capture the smoke and fumes. Okay, yeah, definitely. That's a great idea, the soldering fan. Very cool. I had no idea. That's a good question, Rich. Rich is asking, always go with the grain on this background? Yes, as long as you can. I'm going cross grain right now because I just need to get into these tiny little areas. But the more that you can go with the grain, it will produce a smoother background. But I just kind of have to get into some of these nooks and crannies here, and it's a little bit difficult to always go with the grain. But then it takes a little bit more time and blending to blend cross grain burning in with grain burning. But it's possible. Just always keep a light pressure and take your time and build up your values and really shade in layers. So for any kind of a blending, if you want a really smooth final effect, you're going to want to blend and go everything over everything a lot. Hi, Will. And let me see. We have upside downness, but we can't see very well. Okay, cool. Alrighty, so since I'm here, I'm gonna try to get in this little alleyway. And I have to give like a huge shout out to all of you. I really appreciate your dedication and persistence in being here every Friday. It's really awesome, and it's been wonderful to get to know everybody. And you know, your level of dedication for the art of wood burning is very, very apparent, because you're just still sticking around and watching and learning. I think that it doesn't matter who you are, how long you've been burning, there's always more to learn. And I just have to give a great applause and shout out to each of you for being such regular attendees with the live streams, and I really appreciate it. And I know that you guys are going to do so great because you continue to have the desire to learn. So anyway, love you guys and really appreciate you being here, and wanted to give you all a huge pat on the back for your dedication to learn. Because there's always more to learn. Once you think you know everything, I think you might be missing the point. There's always more to learn. Thank you, Patricia. Yeah, I like the center of the sunflowers too. You're very welcome, Terry. And I'm very happy to be here for you guys and love sharing this time with you. It's definitely out of my comfort zone as far as what I have done throughout my life, but it gets easier, and it's another challenge for me, for sure. I learn more, I think, teaching like this than in any other way, because the live interaction and the questions are a great way to really focus in on what we're doing and why at that specific time. So that's really, really cool. Thanks, Barbara. Thank you, TH. Yeah, stepping out of your comfort zone, that's a struggle. Thanks, Mina. Thanks, Beverly. Thanks, Rich. Thanks, Patricia. Thanks, Laura. You guys are awesome. Okay, so I kind of have that blocked in except for this tiny little spot in there. But let's go ahead and start building up on our background. Now remember last week we talked about how we don't want to march our shading across the wood in rows, kind of like soldiers on a battlefield. We want to keep our leading edge pretty soft and irregular so that we can blend that in to the next pass, because it's easier, I think, to blend like this than it is, you know, rows. I can't get that. Rows like this. You don't want rows like that. You want them to interconnect as your shading goes down across the piece of wood. But this just takes time and patience to get the background nice and blended. Now I'm still on full power, full heat. So you can see that you can still see that kind of initial outline that I put right in there. So we just need a couple more layers to kind of go back over that and blend it into the gradiated, the background with the gradient. So I really think that I'm going to have to add color to this one. I think it would really make everything pop. Yellow is one of my favorite colors to add to a wood burning. It goes really nicely with the woodburn tones, the sepia tone. I really think that's a nice pairing. Mina, do I have a favorite subject to burn? Yes, I think I'm really drawn to big cats, like lions. African lions are one of my favorite subjects. I think it's because the eyes have so much emotion to them and they're very striking. As far as like a wildlife subject, I would say probably big cats. I like owl eyes. But as far as the challenges that I like the most would be textures. Anything with fabric, I really like fabric folds. Any kind of an unusual or different texture is probably my favorite subject to burn. The more texture, the more intricate details, I think the more appealing the subject is to me. So realistic eyes and texture, I guess, is kind of an answer to your question. Rich, can this be done using the Versa tool, the universal tip? That's the chisel tip. Some people do smooth shading with the universal tip. They often take the point and sand it on multiple sides so that you don't have any sharp edges, because when you're wood burning smooth stuff like this, you don't want any edges that are sharp that might catch on the wood and cause, it's almost like your wood burner, your point kind of trips up and catches on the wood and will make a dark spot unintentionally. So whatever point that you're using, make sure that there are soft edges everywhere. Like physically on your point, turn it off, let it cool down, and feel all over the point and make sure that there are no sharp edges. I would say that's a great way to kind of dive into wood burning smooth gradients with the universal point. If you get really good at holding that just right, you can probably do this and not worry about catching the point. But I would say make sure that all of your edges are really soft. Because if I do anything and like I'm going along and I trip up, I don't know how well you can see that, and I catch a sharp edge right there. So if I catch a sharp edge, it'll do an instant hard line burn, and I don't want that. I want everything to be nice and smooth. Rich, I hope that answers your question. Yes, it can be done. It's either going to take a lot of practice with that point, and I would encourage probably sanding down that point to make it softer and smoother. No hard edges. Okay, cool. Thanks, Rich. So long, smooth strokes. And when you're shading like this, make sure you don't go too long, because what happens is a tendency to kind of rock like a boat because of the shape of our hand. So when I say long, smooth strokes, that's as long of a stroke that you can comfortably make without the arcing that your hand will naturally make. Because once you get that boat rocking, you're liable to catch the edge of the shading point and create an unintended dark burn mark, which are very, very, very difficult to fix. Like almost impossible. You'll have to shade that area really dark to try to hide it. And then anytime that you put the point down on the wood, you want to treat it kind of like an airplane. Land and take off in a smooth fashion. Airplanes don't just come flat down, drive, fly, whatever, and then back up. There's a gradual where it comes down and it touches the wood and then it lifts back off again. So with each and every stroke that you make, that is what you want to do, and that will help to avoid the stop spots. So if you're new, those stop spots are where you set the point down, you travel, and then you lift off. So those stop spots are very common when you first begin, but by doing that airplane transition, you come down real gradual and then lift off real gradual. With each stroke, it definitely helps to keep a smoother surface in the end. Terry, yeah, the airplane thing is a difficult thing. I do it without thinking anymore, and sometimes I forget to add that to our instruction that we're doing because it's basically become second nature to me. But when I first started, I would totally set the burner down almost like you would a pencil and then try to draw from there, not knowing that that heat is still transferring and you're going to make a really dark spot there. So I need a little bit more shading along this edge here, but we're getting pretty close. Because I like to push my values a little bit darker. See how this side is much more rich and darker than this side, and that just takes time and patience and lots of layers. Now if I want to make that darker, I will slow down my stroke speed and I will actually use shorter strokes. That will concentrate the heat in an area a little bit more and make for darker lines. So the faster you go, the lighter your marks will be. The slower that you go, the more time the point has to transfer the heat, and then the darker your lines will be. Yeah, I think most everybody, yeah, Barbara, Laura, I think most everybody at some point has experienced those stop spots. And just trying to kind of overcome those takes a little bit of time and a lot of practice. So try to cut down on some background noise. So now you can see I'm just really taking my time. I still have that airplane mode, but I'm just slowing down. I have shorter strokes. I'm just taking more time to let the heat transfer into the wood to create these nice dark rich tones over here. Another thing, I don't think I've seen Jennifer on here tonight, but we've talked about how to get the nice dark black values. and turns out that Jennifer was using a different kind of wood than I was using. So keep that in mind when you're working on a project and you see, you know, my work or anybody else's work. Keep in mind that we may be using a different kind of wood, and that will change the values significantly. Like, it's crazy how different types of wood can have very different values, and maybe not quite values, but it's different. It's just kind of hard to explain. Basswood allows you to get the full range of values, including like an almost white, because the basswood itself is very light, and then you can push it and get a very dark black as well, and then you can shade in between and get a beautiful variety of tonal variations. So basswood is definitely my favorite as far as wood burning realistic work, but I've burned on a lot of kind of crappy pieces of wood. Not very good, because I didn't know any better when I first started. I just bought a little bit of this and a little bit of that, especially the cheaper stuff, because it was cheaper. But I quickly realized that cheaper in the pocketbook, in the bank, does not equal good stuff. And I still have, to this day, some of that yucky wood that I bought when I first started, because I didn't know any better, and I'm sure I'll find some use for it, but it's the type of wood that you use plays a big part in your values and your end result. Some pieces of wood, a different type of wood, you have a really hard time getting like a straight line without sharp edges and junk, and anyway. So if you're trying to save money by going with something other than basswood, I would strongly recommend that you save up your money and get some quality pieces of wood. Other people just love to burn on pine, especially kiln dried pine is much better than your standard pine that you see at the store. But I don't like pine because, number one, it produces smoke that really bothers my lungs. There's too much sap in the wood, and it burns different. So I'm very much spoiled by basswood. So anyway, my friend was having a hard time getting a true black with the wood, and it turns out that the type of wood she was using was probably the main factor in why she couldn't get a true black with her burnings. So just thought I would throw that out there as far as different types of wood. So would you guys like to see me add color to this one? I would probably add colored pencil because I can control that really well. But let me know if you would like to see me add colored pencil to this project, because I think I'm gonna have to. Hey guys, can you let the dog in, please? So you can hear that tapping with the wood. It's where that's my, thank you, that's my airplane tap, 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 as I go back and forth to get my smooth effect. Poplar, now there's aspen and poplar. There's a couple different things. I think I have burned on poplar. I've burned on aspen. Aspen is very similar to basswood, and I like it. Oak is probably very difficult to wood burn rich. I think it's actually cedar that people said that you shouldn't burn on because of the oils in the cedar wood would create potential toxins when you burn over it. But oak is, I mean, I've used oak in my fireplace, and it is very difficult to burn. So I have a feeling that you might want to use the razor tip or something like that to do Woodburn oak. What? Hi. Intermission. Oh, I have a cute little kitty. This is Missy. Say hi. Missy says hi. She's cold. She wants to snuggle with her little white paws. Poplar burns great, Barbara says. Terry says yes to the sunflowers. Color the sunflowers only. Okay. Hi, Donald. Please add color. Okay, Rich, yes for color. TH would love to see colored pencils. Oh, you love using colored pencils in your work. Awesome. Barbara says, I love it in sepia tones, but would sure love to see those flowers in color. Yes, and I will probably take pictures of this project with the sepia tone and also the color. I usually do that. Whenever I add color, I usually try to take multiple pictures. So, just checking the chat while I pet the cat. Laura, you want to see color on the flowers? Okay, cool. Barbara has tried maple, poplar, and basswood. Okay, cool. And yes, Missy she's a shoulder cat. But this doesn't work for wood burning. She blends into my shirt except for her feet. She's got white feet and a white belly. She's a tuxedo kitty, so she's been out hunting all day. Say hi. You can't go all the way up there. Okay, so maybe we should get back to work. Okay, so we'll finish this up tonight. I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but you have to go down, sweetie. Come on, you gotta go down. I know. Oh, there you go. Go find Dad. Okay. Now I'm covered in cat hair. And she's gonna have a bath. Sorry, it's kind of like, it's like PG-13 rated with the cat bathing in the background. Okay, so try to hide the cat doing her laundry. Okay. Terry, have you ever burned your own pets? I try not to because I like them. Sorry, it's a joke. I don't think I have done wood burnings of my own pets. For the simple reason, I think that I'm always too busy doing projects with other subjects. I pretty much need to either learn a lot with a project or have the potential to sell it. So making a wood burning of my own pets, while it would be very sweet, I have so many demands on my time that if I can't turn that time around and either sell prints or the original, I'm probably less inclined to create a wood burning of my own pets for kind of that reason. And I don't think it's a shallow reason. I have tons of photos of my pets, tons of them. I'm really picky about the wood burning projects that I do. I want the composition to be, just right, and I do need to have the potential to sell it or sell prints to help compensate the amount of time that goes into the project. So for right now, I just take pictures of my critters, and I do have a printout of my dog that I was going to wood burn as a tutorial, and I just never got around to it, so. Okay, she's still bathing. Okay, so Let me turn this a little bit. I'd really like to finish these flowers. And so that's the neat thing about working on a project. You can work like on the foliage for a while and then take a break and burn the background, and then when you get tired of burning the background, you can switch back over to something else, which is kind of fun too. Yeah, the kitty, she's so cute. Oh my goodness. If like, I always joke and I say she's super cute, which is cute but with a cape. It's a joke, I always say. You know, anything that is super is the same but with a cape. So if you're an artist or a super artist, you're an artist with a cape. So sorry, it's a joke. Yeah, Missy is super cute, but she doesn't, I can't really wood burn with her because as soon as I quit petting her, she'll leave. So I either need to pay homage to the cat or she will leave. Okay, so I got that little section kind of blocked in there a little bit more. And this really bright leaf here is kind of driving me crazy. I know it's supposed to be like that, but so I usually leave the unburned wood for some of my brightest highlights. I usually try to burn all the wood except for those brightest of brights, like the highlights in an eye, or like we have some backlit stuff here going on. And then you can always add like a touch of white colored pencil to kind of make those pop as well. Super artist. Thanks, Terry. I don't have my cape right now though. Sorry. Because if you're super, you have to wear a cape. Although Halloween is coming up, so I could probably find a cape. Thanks, Barbara. So any other questions as far as what we're working on right now, or questions in general? Let me know. Don't be shy as far as if you have questions on anything. Well, this is like really overexposed. That's kind of crazy. There we go. Wear your cape next Friday. When is Halloween? We have another full week, right, before Halloween? We do. That's the 28th. Maybe we should wear like costumes or something for the live stream next week, since it's almost Halloween. I used to always do face paint. I used to paint my face for Halloween. I haven't done that in a long time though. But I could paint my face or something. I'll wear a costume. I have a really good pirate costume that I like to wear most every year. And then we go trick-or-treating and I run down the street doing the crazy Captain Jack Sparrow run. It's pretty fun. Make people wonder. Barbara says, on your Versatool, how do you know when to retire your shading tip? When it starts shading unevenly? This one that I have here, I have used for a very long time. You will notice, like on the tip, oh, come on, focus. Not on my hand, focus on the point, but not burn me. There we go. So the tip has a little bit of carbon built up. I would say if that tip gets damaged to the point where whenever you burn, you can see indentations or scratches, then you probably ought to either gently sand your point and try to take out those micro scratches, or get a new one. The metal does get a little bit more thin at the tip, you can see it's just slightly thinner on the bottom. But I find that I get really used to certain points and I know exactly how they react. So I very rarely change them out unless something bad happens, like they get damaged or scratched or they start leaving indentations. But I have used this same point for the majority of my work for probably, my goodness, like 6 to 10 years. I think I've used the same one. So I would say if it is still burning smoothly, you're okay. If it starts scratching, start with like fine sandpaper, super fine, again, fine with a cape, and a really nice soft grit to try to take that out. I hope that answers your question, Barbara. I know I kind of went on with that one. Laura says, is it better to use the Versatool for the background than, say, the razor tip? One of the challenges with the razor tip is being able to moderate the temperature, because especially with thin points like this, oh, sorry, is a spear shader. And you see how thin that is? It's almost like it's paper thin. The paper thin points, anything that's really thin is going to build up heat very quickly, and as soon as you put it on the wood, you're liable to get a hot spot or a burn mark. And then as soon as you travel a little bit, because it's so thin, the wood is going to pull the heat out of the point, and then you're going to have a much lighter value. So I find that the razor tip points are very easy to get over burn marks and then under burn marks. So I think that these sharp ones are very much more difficult to shade in a smooth manner than the Versatool. Now if you have, ow, some of these are sharp. Now if you have something like the spoon shader, it's a little bit thicker, it's got softer edges, this is better to shade with. One of the best things that I found to shade with the Versatool, sorry, with the razor tip is the transfer point. As you can see, it looks a lot like the shading point on here, but it's a bit thicker and it holds the heat a little bit more consistently. So if you do want to use the razor tip for a background, and maybe I should do that sometime on a live stream, is show how to do a background with the razor tip, you're going to want to turn your heat down. I know that seems kind of productive, but if you turn your heat down, then you can regulate that temperature, and at least you won't get overburn. It might take longer to burn the background because obviously the temperature is lower. But I would say yes, you can, but it has its own set of challenges. I hope I answered your question, Laura. Okay, Barbara, your shading point is pretty new and working fine. Okay, yeah, I would say as long as you're nice to the shading point, it'll last for a long time. Hi, Caitlin. Glad you could make it. Thank you very much. Patricia says, what is your opinion of Art Pop fine liner pens? Good to add color, as vibrant as acrylic paint. I have not used Art Pop fine liner pens. I will have to look into that and see. So I don't know, are those an acrylic paint pen? I do have acrylic paint pens. I use them to modify stuff like, nope, like my cell phone that I could never tell heads from tails. I used an acrylic pen to shade the bottom, but I have not used those on wood burning because they're quite what's the word, hard to control, inconsistent, hard to control. Okay, my hand is kind of messing with stuff there. Okay, you're welcome, Laura. Yeah, Patricia, I don't know on that. I'll have to look into that. And Patricia, your sticker, I sent you an email late tonight, but your stickers were shipped today. And I also mentioned the thing that you sent me in the mail. I finally checked my mailbox. You know, it's like maybe once or twice a month that I check that mailbox. So anyway, thank you very much. You're so sweet. Well, pizza time. Yay! Patricia, they're not acrylic paint pens. Okay, I'll look into that and I'll see. A fine liner pen. Cool. Any kind of a paint pen that I have tried is really difficult to control because, you know, you have to kind of depress it several times and then the paint comes out usually like in a blob. So sometimes those paint pens can be a little bit difficult to control, but you know, I love adding color. Anytime a new color thing pops up, like acrylic paint or oil paint or watercolors or alcohol inks, I want to try it all. I just want to try and see how to combine that with wood burning to get different results. So that's very cool. You can hear the beeping? Oh, nice. Patricia, no, your mail did not come by Pony Express. It was like, well, it was like stamped October 3rd. It's probably just been sitting in my mailbox for the month. So, yeah, I'm really bad about that. Of course, my mailbox is an hour's drive there and an hour's drive back. So I don't get down there to that mailbox very often. And a lot of people don't know about it, so I don't usually expect stuff to come into that mailbox either. I usually get just like junk there. I don't know how they found my email, or mail. But if I know something's coming, then I'll check it more often. So, but it's good, it's secure, and it's safe. So I'm glad that I have a PO box for those things that just need to be secure. So I'm trying to, oh, you can't see. You guys gotta yell at me when you can't see what I'm doing. I'm just burning away. And you can't see. So I was working up here in this area trying to get some of these darker values built up a little bit more. But we're getting close, guys, here on the end of the leaves, so we're really pretty close. I think we can get this done tonight. I don't think we'll get all that background in, and then if you want, I can show how to do this stuff down here. This is going to be pretty simple on the bottom. Patricia, yeah, alcohol ink is really cool. Yeah, you definitely have to be so careful with alcohol inks. The fumes are wicked. I always wear a respirator when working with alcohol inks because of the isopropyl alcohol base. It's very volatile. Terry, you totally have to yell at me. Or maybe just like raise your hand and say, hey, fix your camera because we can't see. Thanks, Terry. So Barbara says, I used patio paints on the piece I just finished. Worked great. They are bottle acrylics. They do not soak into the wood. That's interesting. Very cool. We are so close. I just need to finish this up. So much of what's left right here is backlit in, it should go pretty quick. So I'm just gonna try to finish this up. Yeah, Terry, I love still lifes. They're very fascinating and a lot of fun. And okay. Still lifes are very captivating and a lot of fun to create. they're a great way to learn value as well. All good?
No, there's something very wrong with this.
What is it?
It's a square pizza.
I see. It is a square pizza. Square pizzas should not exist, but they're better for packaging.
It's a square pizza.
Okay, yeah, they're going to that. Although I think you get more pizza because a square has more. Well, I think a square has more surface area than a circle.
I think we get just a tiny bit more pizza.
Oh, yay.
But I was not expecting it to be square when I opened up the packaging.
Yeah, they might be switching their
More pizza for
tactic.
$10 at least.
And so here's where adding color will really help, because obviously our sunflowers are going to be yellow and our leaves are going to be green. So I don't have to be quite as picky as far as our values. But I'm going to put some stuff in here anyway. That's one thing that I'm still struggling with, like majorly, is color and color theory. I have the values down. I see values really, really well, but as far as color, I'm struggling. But I'm still working on that. I want to learn to paint, but so much of that is color theory. Because not only do you have color, but you also have value, and that's kind of a tricky thing. Yeah, square pizza. Kind of crazy. Okay, so I think we're getting kind of close to being done with the plants. There's still some probably little things that I kind of skipped over and forgot. But again, because it is backlit, everything's gonna look really crazy. A little bit disjointed, I think. It's not as harmonious as it would be if we had more shading. But I can go back over and I'll probably tweak this a little bit and add more shading in places that I think it needs it, because you got to get back and take a look at it and decide where you want to push those values and where they're okay as is. So I want just a little bit more shading on these sunflowers as it comes down, because I know that we have more shading in there. Hey, Will.
Yeah.
Did Dad make it in okay, or is he still outside?
He is taking a nap, I believe.
Oh, he's napping. Okay, even better. Okay, so I could probably nitpick over, over this area for quite a bit, but let's see. But we're looking pretty good overall on our still life. The background needs a little bit more. I'm gonna go ahead and do something with this foreground so you guys can see that, and then we'll just keep at it until we run out of time. That's a good question, Terry. Why do they put round pizzas in square boxes but cut them into triangular pieces? It's a very good thought. Alrighty. Terry says, I really like the look of sepia, but would really like to see some of the flowers in yellow. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to color this one. So I'm gonna turn this sideways and we're gonna work a little bit on that foreground. But before I do, I think I might sand some of these lines down a little bit. It looks like our subject matter is on a outdoor table with like strips of wood, like a picnic table or something. Thanks, guys. So I said that go with the grain as much as possible. This is an exception to that rule because our subject matter is going this way. So basically what we have here is just these lines of the picnic table. So you want a really nice light pressure with short strokes to start laying these in. And my light is a little bit crazy and overexposed. Let me see if I can't make that better. And it's okay to take multiple passes at this. If you press too hard, your point is going to want to kind of catch on those grains that are going perpendicular to the way that we're burning. So the lighter the pressure, the better, because if you press too hard, the grain is going to influence your line, and then you're going to have like a little very uneven line.
Stopper just had an epic fail. She tried to jump up on the bed, made it about halfway, fell back in the hole. We were doing first pizza. First pizza.
Audio. So yeah, just take your time. Based on the reference photo, the bottom side is going to have the sharper edge, and then we can put just a little bit of a soft edge on the right side and make it look a little bit more three-dimensional. Now we can always go back and make that a little bit darker, but let's add just a little soft shading on the upper side of that line. Which is going to be more pronounced in the shadows. Kind of like that, and then we just repeat. Now because of atmospheric influence and kind of the general rule of still lifes, anything that's closer is going to be darker. So our darkest line is going to be this one right here. There's another one up front, but it's kind of out of focus. But out of these three lines, this one that's closest to the viewer is going to be darker, a little bit lighter, and they will get lighter and softer as they go back into the distance and kind of fade out. So you can always go back and re-burn that first line to make it a little bit darker. Kind of like that, but for time's sake, I'm just going to go ahead and burn the next. I'm not very even right now. And then this one is going to be just a little bit lighter. And they're also getting softer edges as they go back into the distance because of the focal point of the camera. And then there's kind of just like a little soft one back there. And then we can do the same thing here. Terry says, if you were doing this and got to this point and screwed up one of those lines, not straight, how would you fix it? I would make it look like, instead of the still life sitting on a table with pieces of wood, I would just change these into wood grains and hide it and make it look like it's sitting on a slab of wood. I hope that makes sense. To kind of hide those lines. And then you can also just go ahead and add in some more shading, because we don't want just 3 lines. So you can go ahead and put in some irregular lines like wood grain. And then if you do have a problem and your lines don't turn out straight, just turn it into wood grain. I do have a tutorial on how to burn wood grain. I think it's on Patreon, and it might also be on my website as an individual tutorial. So if you're on Patreon, you can go back and kind of take a look at those older tutorials, and you'll be able to see how to create wood grain. Because we're burning fairly light right now, it would be pretty easy to incorporate a wood grained type theme into this and make it okay. Or you could just like shade it really dark, make it look like it's on a rock tabletop or something. And so this doesn't have to be perfect. It's very flexible and kind of abstract as far as how you want to create the table. Okay, so it's giveaway time at 7:30. So my question tonight is, what project would you like to see next? Now you can do a theme, like we were talking about a Christmassy theme last week, if you want to do a Christmassy thing, or what is a subject that you would like to see on an upcoming tutorial or live stream. So go ahead and throw that out there. I'm going to keep wood burning, and I will select somebody. And it's open to everybody. So. And I have stickers again. I'm out of prints, but I do have stickers. So the stickers, you will get 2 stickers, one for you, one for a friend. And I've got like the train, and I have a waterfall, pretty much most everything that I've done. Soldiers, Statue of Liberty, the Patriot. I have owls, and water droplets, aspen leaves, owls, mountains, the wine scene, sorry, everything's sideways, horse, more owls, and I have, I think, 2 more mountain lions. So go ahead and drop that out there as far as what you'd like to see next on the tutorial. Okay, I'll try to adjust my light a little bit, but not get so overexposed. Okay. So just lots of smooth shading on the background to kind of finish this up. And the more layers, the better. Also, if you have a difficult time kind of managing the background, go ahead and turn your temperature down a little bit, and that always helps. And thank you to everybody who's liked the video. I really appreciate that. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so if you'd like, so that we can, you'll know whenever I have an upcoming video. and I really appreciate your support. Kitty! Okay, TH says, I'd like to see the rock with the realistic water droplets. Cool. Barbara says a winter scene with snow, rocks, cabins, or elk, something western. Cool. Yeah, I love western stuff. Laura says a winter scene with a snowman. Very lovely. Barbara says I like the mountain one that you created. Yes, that was really difficult. That was very time consuming. But I would say when you do a landscape, bigger is probably better because you can get more details in there. Mina, snow, pine cones, pine trees, and a cabin with smoke. That's very good too. Terry says Christmas, a winter scene, or silver, bells, and holly. I like reflective surfaces. Silver is really cool. The leaves of holly would be fun too. Patricia, a Christmas candle as a theme. Angela, Christmas, cool. Beverly, water rippling on a pond and trees. Awesome, guys. Very good ideas. Because this will probably be the last live stream that we work on this project. I will video the color, but I have to finish this first. So the color is to be determined on a video. Because I'd like to spend some more time with this and make sure, you know, I usually, once I get my project done, I go back over the entire thing and make sure that my values are appropriate and adjusted to where, whoo, I got a stop spot. So if you can see right there, I wasn't quite even on my stroke and I have a little stop spot right there. So in order to hide that, I'm just going to kind of increase the darkness of that value all the way around and just kind of try to hide it with the values. And that's why having a light pressure really helps so that you don't catch an edge and kind of dent the wood and make a dark burn. So light pressure is always good. Okay, so if everybody has posted their comments, the winner tonight for the sticker giveaway is Terry. So congratulations, Terry. And go ahead and send me an email at questions@minisapyrography.com and let me know where to send your stickers and which one that you would like. Hi, Monte. Yes, absolutely. A forest scene with a spirit and pond. Wow, that would be really cool. So just back and forth and back and forth, and you can always go back and make everything darker. But starting with a smooth foundation, even though it's a little bit lighter than I want it to be, starting with a smooth foundation helps when you shade darker because it's just a lot more even, and then you don't have to struggle with an irregular platform to work on. But backgrounds like this take so long. There's a lot of time involved with these. You're welcome, Terry. Questions at minisapyrography.com. I wonder about the wiseness of putting my email out here. I'm starting to get weird emails now that are spam, but that's okay. You guys are worth it. I can always change emails if I need to. There. Yeah, Mina, Pyro. Change the I to a Y. But you got it, for sure. So, yeah, the background is just going to be nice and smooth. I will probably, yeah, I know, TH, spam stuff is just not pleasant. You're doing great, Mina, thank you. So you can see that the difference between this side and this side is basically just time. Yes, you got it, Mina, thank you. So I will probably do the same thing on this side that I did over here by richening up some of these values, which pushes our background back and our subject forward and really makes it just pop. So I will do that over here as well. It just takes time and it's quite tedious, but it's a lot of fun. It's a wonderful, almost like a meditative or a mindless kind of a process to where you just got to go back and forth and worry about value. So I find it to be very relaxing. But we'll go ahead and I'll just keep showing you how to do that. But I will finish this up and get some good pictures as far as the sepia tone only. And then when it comes time to add color, I'll film that as well. So everybody can kind of watch it. So to go back in, you're just going to want to go slower to darken up some of these areas. And just spend more time. Now it would be really easy for me to scorch that little handle, so I do need to be careful that I don't work too long in an area where I might scorch the wood. But you can see how adding a darker background right there really pulls our subject forward. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, this is a fun project. The leaves are a little bit frustrating, but it's just another challenge. Monty has a question. When shading, where is your heat knob? Okay, the setting. I think you're using the Walnut Hollow. Yeah, this is the Walnut Hollow Creative Versa tool, and right now I've got it taped because it likes to shift. But I'm on full power, full heat right now because I'm pretty comfortable with the tool. Now, in areas that I need to shade and I need more control, I will definitely turn that down to where the orange meets the red. But I'm pretty comfortable with the base, the color base that I already have, value base that I have. and I want to go a little bit faster because of time constraints, so it is at full power, full heat right now. In areas that are really tiny and I want to take more care, I will turn the burner down, especially when burning portraits. Portraits, you have to be so careful because the tiniest little mistake is really obvious with portraits. So I will turn the burner down more in that case. But something like this, it's a little bit easier for me to keep that burner up high. And that is a very good question. I usually try to let people know what setting I am on for the temperature control. So just lots and lots of shading, lots of smooth stuff. Now, I don't know that I've talked to you guys about this, but when you're trying to make really smooth shading and you're using a small point like this, because if you look at the amount of surface area that's actually touching the wood, it's very, very small. So when you're shading, I like to go with the grain, and with each stroke I try to keep them close together, almost overlapping. If you get your strokes and you start coming around like this and you get your strokes farther apart, that's going to be much more harder to blend together. So you want your strokes close together and not spaced apart. Now, even though we are going pretty straight like this, sometimes you can still see these vertical strokes. Now, we could just go, this is an exaggeration here, if we just went like this and then across this way, it would be very obvious. We'd almost make it worse. But what you can do very subtly is once you get your vertical strokes like this, close together, I'm exaggerating here, then you can go at a slight diagonal angle when shading like this, and then go back the other way very slightly on a diagonal. Now you can see the strokes because I'm exaggerating, but when it comes time to shade and you're just going up and down like this, then switch and go slightly sideways at a really shallow angle, diagonal, and then the other way, and it all blends together almost like waves canceling out each other. And then you can go back vertical again. Anyway, that's a little trick that I've done for many years to get really smooth shading on a big surface area, because when you always shade in one direction, sometimes it's easy to see those stroke patterns. So by offsetting just slightly in one direction or the other, and then you can change it up. You can make it an even more shallow angle. So instead of going like this, we're more like that. So it is like cross-hatching, Barbara, but it's very, very subtle. So I don't want a very obvious cross-hatching. I want something really subtle, and I will keep my strokes close together and they all cancel each other out, and then you can get a really smooth shading. So I'll do that, especially like with skin texture, to help blend all those layers and make it just as smooth as possible. But I don't think that I've talked about that one on the live streams. And so now you can see where I am going slightly, just barely diagonally in here, and then I'll go back and go slightly diagonal the other way, and then I'll go vertical So by using just very tiny increments of different angles, it helps to create a more smooth appearance, I think. Monte, oh, I answered your question there. Oh, down here, Monte says, to do like squiggly owl feathers, would you use the tip of the same shading tool and at what temp? Or a different tip? I thought I remembered you saying you pretty much just use one tip. Yeah, I do. I would use the upper edge of the point. So this is the Versatool. For those squiggly feathers, you're going to want probably more of a hard edge where you're going to rock that point up and get a fine edge. But if you need to blend it together, rock it down, and you can see you get a much softer edge. So what that is the difference between going up on point like this or a little bit of a flatter angle. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, feathers are crazy. A lot of it is negative space, and I'm upside down now. I'll keep it this way. Okay. So I'll zoom out a little bit and we'll just kind of take a look at this. So our gradient is developing on the background quite nicely. I see this pumpkin right here seems to almost like pop forward because of this hard edge. I'm going to try to soften that a little bit and make it blend into its environment a little bit more. And sometimes you don't even see that stuff until you take a step back. So take a step back. That's a little bit better. Same thing on this side. So it's really good to take a step back from your work. Give it some time. Give it a few days before you finally call it done. As you walk by your picture, often you'll see little tiny things that kind of jump out at you until they become so glaringly obvious that you can't help it but to fix them. So I would say those are things that really jump out, like a big value change, or maybe you have a texture that needs corrected, or you forgot to burn a spot on the wood burning. I do that all the time. You think you're done, it's like, oh, I completely forgot that one area. So my dad is an artist, and he said that a painting, or in this case a burning, is never finished. You just find a good place to stop. So we have just a few minutes left. Does anybody have any other questions as we're kind of wrapping up tonight's live stream? I will be here next Friday, so we'll have another live stream next Friday. I will come up with another plan, another subject, probably Christmas themed, and I will get that drawn up and put the pattern on Patreon. So if you're not a patron, go ahead and take a look at that. All of our past live streams are archived there. That's the only place where you can see the past live streams. You also get the pattern, and there's a lot of other tutorials on there as well, which is pretty cool. And I am also giving like more patterns to patrons. So definitely go take a look at Patreon. It would be www.patreon.com/Minisa. So just my first name, Barbara. I need my cape. All right, everybody dress up next Friday for the live stream, and maybe the question will be, what is your costume for tonight? So that'll be the goodie giveaway question next week, is describe your costume. So everybody has to wear a costume. Because if I have to wear a costume, you do too. That'll be fun. Good night, Angela. Thanks so much. Yes, thank you, Terry. Yep, please like the video. It's much appreciated. So again, any other questions? Thank you, Mina. She put the link to Patreon in the comments. So are there any other questions as we kind of wrap up this tutorial? Thank you, Steve. I hope you have a great weekend as well. Stay warm. It's supposed to get really cold here with snow. So I hope everybody has a great weekend, and everybody stays warm and safe and healthy. So you can see I'll kind of like start just expanding my shaded area here. Thanks, Beverly. You have a good night as well. TH is asking, will I do an impromptu coloring of this? Possibly. I don't know. Like I said, I have to finish this first, and I don't know when I'll be able to get that done. But as soon as don't know. I'll probably finish this project this week, and then maybe we'll talk about it next Friday. Thanks, TH. Thanks, Barbara. Thanks, Terry. Everybody have a great night. Thanks, Laura. Yeah, TH, I'll try to throw that out there and let everybody know that when I'll be doing the color, because I know there's a lot of interest in that. Thanks, Mina. Thanks, Patricia. Okay, we'll miss you too, Patricia. Make a snowman rich. I'll try to make a snowman if there's enough snow. Good night, Monte. Thanks for joining, and you're very welcome. Thanks for all the great questions. Good night, TH. Thanks, Patricia. Alrighty, it's 8 o'clock. Thanks so much for joining, and I'll see you next week. Terry, you like to hear the tapping? Thanks. Yeah, a lot of times I don't even know that it's, I don't really realize it's there, but yeah, thanks. All right, good night, everybody. I hope you all have a fantastic and lovely weekend. Good night.